Hey guys, tonight we're sailing into the icy spray of the North Sea. Wind bites your cheeks. Seawater slaps your face, and every plank beneath your feet groans with purpose. You are not just any warrior tonight. You are a Viking Berserker. There's no armor shielding you. It's just a bearskin cloak, a frothing sense of rage simmering in your gut, and an axe that probably has more blood than wood on it. Your heartbeat is sinking with the drumbeat echoing off the longship's hull boom. Boom. Boom closer. Now to the raid. You can feel it, can't you? The chill crawling under your fur, the scent of salt and fear. You're not entirely sure if it's excitement or dread, probably both. But either way, you're committed. You're a berserker, and tonight, some poor coastal village is about to learn what that really means. You probably won't survive this, so before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe it, only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and local time in the comments. Love seeing where. And when you're all listening in from now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You blink into the gray morning mist. You've been rowing for hours, or maybe days. It's hard to tell when the sun only barely peeks over the horizon, as if it, too, wants nothing to do with what's about to happen. Your back aches from the oar, but no one complains unless they want to become the next sacrifice around. You other warriors mutter prayers. Some to Odin, some to Thor. One guy named Skull just chants gibberish to his pet squirrel. You don't ask. Everyone has their methods. The coastline appears like a Ghostlow Hills, a cluster of huts, maybe even a tiny chapel if you squint. You're near Lindisfarne, probably. The monks there won't put up much of a fight, but that's not the point. This isn't just a raid. This is your first raid. And for a berserker like you, this is the proving ground. Historians still argue whether berserkers were an elite cult, a psychological phenomenon, or just a bunch of guys with anger issues and very poor impulse control. Whatever the case, you're one of them now. Initiated, blood-baptized, unhinged. You grip your axe tighter. It's not a fancy weapon, just wood and iron butt to you. It's an extension of your body. Like a very sharp, very enthusiastic limb. The war. Drums stop. Silence. Then, the howl. It starts low and animalistic. One berserker, then another. Soon, you're all howling like wolves possessed. Your voice joins in, involuntarily at first, then with growing ferocity. Your vision narrows. Your breath becomes steam. Every inch of your body hums with fury. That's the Berserker gang taking over the trance, the madness, the beautiful chaos. You're not just angry. Your primal mainstream accounts tell. U.S. Berserkers could fight through wounds that would drop any normal man. Whether it was adrenaline, trance, or something much more. Medicinal red, suspicious mushrooms, no one can say for sure. But you believe it. You feel it. Right now, nothing could stop you except, maybe, a sudden nap or a minor existential crisis. You leap off the ship into shallow surf, water soaking your boots and chilling your thighs. Ahead, the village erupts in motion. A bell rings. Chickens scatter. One monk just straight up throws his Bible at you and bolts. Good choice. You don't feel your first kill. Not really. It's a blur of movimenter axe rising, a scream, then silence. You think you remember splinters flying. Maybe it was a door. Maybe a person. Hard to say. Something hits your shoulder. A stick, a spear, a very angry goose. You spin and roar, swinging wide. You hear bones crack. Oops, that was Bjorn. He shouldn't have snuck up on you like that. The problem with Berserker gang is that it's not particularly discerning. Friend foe. Nearby trio looks like a threat in the haze. Some sagas describe berserkers biting their shields, foaming at the mouth, even chewing through iron chains. You haven't reached that level of unhinged yet, but you're well on your way. The battle ends almost as quickly as it began. The village smolders. Some of your crew are looting. Others are chasing down fleeing monks. One is just ... petting a cow. You breathe heavily, trying to come down. Your hands are trembling, or maybe vibrating. You look at your axe. It's chipped now. Not badly, but enough to sting your pride. You mutter a curse and wipe it on the nearest tunic. Whether or not someone's still wearing it, a child stares at you from behind a haystack. Not crying, just watching. You nod at him more out of respect than threat. He nods back. That's unsettling. And then you laugh loud, sharp, unfiltered laughter. You survived. You actually did it. You raided with the berserkers and lived to grunt about it. Not bad for a first-timer. Quirky tidbit. Some Viking warriors actually brought ravens with them, letting them fly inland to scout out smoke and signs of villages. You didn't bring a raven. You brought your brother-in-law. He's currently passed out in the surf. You think he might have swallowed a crab? Someone slaps you on the back. Hard. It's your Jarl. Big man, bigger beard. You fight like a nightmare, he says. That's probably a compliment. You grin through bloodied teeth tonight. There will be feasting. Tomorrow, maybe a saga will start with your name. But for now, you drag your weary body back to the longship. Every muscle aches. Every nerve hums. You lie on the hardwood deck and stare at the overcast sky. Your bearskin still wet with sea and sweat and other fluids. You close your eyes and smile. Not bad at all. You wake up face down on a pile of furs that smell like old fish and wet dog. The longhouse roof creaks above you, and someone is loudly vomiting outside, probably your brother-in-law again. There's a dull ache in your chest. Your axe arm feels like it's been used to hammer nails, and your tongue tastes like smoked herring and regret. Welcome to morning after berserker life. The feast from last night is a blur of roasted meat, endless horns of mead, and a skald singing a song that may or may not have included a verse about your pants falling off mid-battle. The mead was likely mixed with something extra, a little fly agaric mushroom, maybe. It helps with the vision quests, or it just makes you believe your stool is talking to you. Historians still argue whether these rituals were based on shamanic spiritualism, or if you all were just, well, self-medicating. Today's ritual is the one that really makes you a berserker. The bearskin, right? You're led more like shoved, actually into the woods by two older berserkers. You're not told where you're going, just that you need to see. That's always a comforting phrase. After about an hour of trudging through dense pine and prickly undergrowth, you reach a clearing. A fire's already going. A massive bear pelt lies nearby, stretched out like a warning sign from nature itself. The skull still attached. One of the men drops a satchel at your feet. Dried herbs, a little mushroom, a flask of something viscous and black. You're instructed to sit, breathe deep, and consume everything, one item at a time. Your stomach lurches at the mix of bitterness, spice, and that weird oiliness that says, "This used to be a plant, but now it's something else entirely." You cough, you sweat. Then you stop noticing either, because now you're shaking. Trembling, your thoughts blur into shapes, into shadows, into fire. That's when the bear comes. Not a real bear, a vision, or a spirit, or maybe an especially hairy hallucination. It doesn't matter. What matters is how it moves, with weight, with rage, with the certainty of a predator that's never second-guessed a decision in its life. You don't run, you roar. This is the point of the ritual, to confront the rage, to welcome it, to see it not as madness, but as armor, emotional chainmail, and maybe a little excuse for the questionable decisions you're about to make. Berserkers were named after this practice bear, meaning bear, serker, meaning shirt. You literally become bare-shirted. Whether it's metaphorical or not, depends on whether you see that vision quest bear wink at you or not. Yours does. Creepy. You're handed the bear skin, drenched in animal musk and something that's definitely blood adjacent. You drape it over your shoulders and suddenly feel enormous. Like your muscles have grown twice their size, your senses sharpened. You hear a deer snap a twig somewhere in the forest, and you feel the wind change direction before it even brushes your cheek. But also, your nose itches. Badly, no one tells you how itchy bear fur is. You sneeze 3 times and pretend it's part of the ritual. Back at the village, people are already talking. He went full beast. Did you see him snap that door in half? He bit a spear. Word travels fast. Whether it's true or not, doesn't matter. Saga inflation is part of the brand. You spend the afternoon recovering, lying near the fire pit while the village kids dare each other to touch your axe when you're not looking. You let one of them get close, just for the drama. You suddenly grunt and twitch hand the kid runs off screaming. You smirk. Berserkers may be terrifying in battle, but we're also connoisseurs of petty fun. Later, Jarl invites you to sit at the high seat. This is a big deal. It means he sees you. Not just as another axe on legs, but as a proper force. You're told to speak of your vision. You keep it vague. I saw the bear. I became the bear. Which is true, sort of. You leave out the part where the bear offered you berries and whispered stock investment advice. A few villagers murmur. The seer nods. That's usually a good sign. The rest of the night is fire-lit and thick with stories. You notice something strange, though, while most warriors are boisterous, the older berserkers sit quiet, withdrawn. They laugh, but it's a tired laugh. They eat, but rarely drink. You wonder what they've seen, what the trance shows after too many years. Is there such a thing as too much rage, too much bear? There's a tale told about a berserker named Rolf who got stuck in his bear state, never spoke again. Just wandered from raid to raid, always the first in, last out. Slept under trees, died standing up. Some say his spirit still haunts berserker rites, watching, judging. You pretend you don't notice the claw mark on your new bearskin that definitely wasn't there earlier. Quirky tidbit of the night. Ancient Norse warriors believed that the world tree Yggdrasil connected not just realms but also dreams. Some berserkers claimed they could travel it in trance, flying like birds from branch to branch, spying on gods. You didn't see any trees in your trance. You did see Skal's pet squirrel dancing with a helmet on. Make of that what you will. You eventually stumble back to your bedding, body sore, mind quieter than usual. The fire crackles. Someone's humming a lullaby. You roll the bearskin tighter around your frame. It still stinks tomorrow. You'll raid again, or spar, or get called on to settle a feud by looking intimidating. But tonight, you're just a half-naked, vision-haunted man, wrapped in bear hide, dreaming of fangs and feathers. Your final thought before sleep. Please, gods, let that squirrel have been a dream. It starts with a scream. Not yours. Someone else's. High-pitched, full of panic, and followed by the unmistakable clang of metal on metal. You spring up, barely awake, gripping your axe like it's part of your arm. Your mouth still tastes like last night's mead stew. Your breath is hot in the morning chill. The village is under attack. You sprint outside. Barefoot, shirtless, wearing only your itchy bearskin and yesterday's mistakes. You don't know who's come rival Norsemen, angry Saxons, maybe just A few drunk farmers who got overconfident, but you're already running toward it. That's what berserkers do. You don't wait for orders. You don't make plans. You just charge dot and, well, that's exactly the problem. Your first swing is magnificent. Clean, powerful, cuts right through a wooden shield and lands square in your enemy's ribs. Except he's not an enemy. It's Torsten. He was on your side. He's now groaning on the ground, bleeding heavily, and muttering your name like a disappointed father. Oh no! This is what they don't tell you in the sagas. Berserker rage is messy. It's glorious, yes, but it's also blinding, sloppy, and dangerously indiscriminate. Once that fury kicks in, it doesn't ask for identification. It just takes over. You're not a man in battle anymore, you're a storm. A very poorly directed storm. Historians still argue whether berserkers truly lost control or whether the madness was performative, part intimidation, part psychological warfare. Today, you are definitely in the oops to real category. You try to slow down, but that's like trying to hold back an avalanche with your bare hands. Another enemy, this one definitely not a friend, lunges at you with a spear. You duck, roll, rise, and slam the butt of your axe into his chin. He drops like a sack of fish. Two more come at you. You roar. One flees immediately. The other swings wildly. You absorb the blow with your shoulder and retaliate with a spinning strike that knocks his helmet clean off. You're back in it. Sort of dot in the chaos, you glimpse Skull and his squirrel, climbing a cart to yell directions no one's following. The Jarl is bellowing commands at the top of his lungs, trying to organize the madness. And Bjorn, yes, that Bjorn is crawling away from an overturned soup pot. He is, tragically, on fire. You catch your breath in the middle of it all, chest heaving, blood soaking your fur. And then, like a hammer to the chest, hits you. You've lost control, not of the battle. Of yourself, you look down at your hands, they're trembling. Not from fatigue, from rage. The kind that doesn't fade when the danger ends. The kind that lingers long after the blood has dried. This isn't what you imagined berserker life would feel like. You thought it would be glorious. You thought the fury would feel righteous. Instead, it feels like being locked inside your own skin while something else uses your body as a blunt instrument. You retreat just a few paces to a corner of the fight. You lean against a wall, panting, trying to force yourself back into reality. You don't want to be the guy who kills Torsten. Not again. The rest of the battle ends quickly. Turns out it was just a group of overconfident Saxons, probably, hoping to reclaim something that had belonged to their great-great somebody. They clearly weren't expecting a village full of half-naked berserkers with identity crises and highly questionable hygiene. As the smoke clears, someone claps you on the back. It's the Jarl. He's grinning. You're a beast, he says. Proudly. Terrifying. I like it. You want to say? I hurt my own men. But you just grunt and nod. Later, as the bodies are burned and the wounded tended, you visit Torsten. He's lying on a wooden bench, wrapped in bandages, sipping something foul-smelling from a horn. He sees you approach and laughs. You tried to kill me, he says. You try to apologize, but he waves it off. I would have done the same to you. It's the rage. Yeah, the bear. It doesn't care who's who. Next time, maybe aim higher. He winces as he shifts. You've still got the worst of them, he adds. People saw, they'll remember. And that's the thing, isn't it? Quirky detail, some Viking warriors tattooed themselves with runes meant to protect them from their own fury. Little charms to keep the madness from swallowing them whole. You've never done that. Maybe it's time you sit alone that evening by the fire. Still in your bearskin, still wondering what exactly you're becoming. Is this power or is this poison? You hear the skald already working on the saga version of today's fight. You definitely didn't leap over to spearmen and land on a flaming cart, but it's a better story than the truth. The truth is you lost yourself again. The truth is you hurt someone who trusted you. But hey, saga inflation, let the bard have his fun, and let tomorrow be better. The boar is roasted. The horns are overflowing. The mead tastes like someone mixed honey, regret, and a faint hint of pine sap. The hall is thick with smoke and laughter, your victory feast. You've cleaned the blood from your axe, sort of. Your bearskin has been hastily patched up with some twine, but still smells like a damp cave, and probably always will. But none of that matters. You're seated close to the Jarl. Your name is on everyone's lips. And a skald is weaving your name into verses faster than you can drink. It's your first true taste of Viking fame. Tonight's celebration isn't just about the battle, it's about the bond, the rituals, the hierarchy, and, apparently, the mushroom stew. Oh yes, you've heard of this? Wakening. A traditional berserker stew made with herbs, mushrooms, and just enough fermented goat milk to question all your life choices. It's meant to open your mind to the gods, or to paint dragons on the ceiling, possibly both. Historians still argue whether the Viking use of psychoactive substances was religious, recreational, or just a way to avoid feeling their frostbitten toes. Either way, you're given a bowl of the stew. And the Jarl makes direct eye contact as you lift the spoon. You can't say no. The first bite is earthy. The second, bitter. By the third, you can't feel your teeth anymore. Or your ears. You lean back and stare at the flickering shadows cast by the hearth flames. And that's when Odin shows up. Maybe he's single quotes as tall, cloaked with a beard that seems to defy firelight. He doesn't speak, just nods, and the wind inside the hall shifts. Or maybe someone opened the side door. Hard to say. Then a raven lands on the beam above you. Or maybe it's a chicken. It's very hard to tell right now. You blink. Everyone's laughing. The Jarl is telling a story about wrestling a walrus. The walrus definitely lost. You think? You try to nod along, but your head is currently on a separate adventure. The feast rolls on. Roasted boar, smoked fish, a weird jelly thing someone insists is delicacy. You eat most of it, your stomach regrets everything. But your reputation. Thriving, people approach you to touch your bearskin. Some want to hear the story of your trance. A few want you to bless their weapons. One man even asks if you can scream at his horse it's been to calm lately. You do? The horse faints. You're not sure if this is a win or a lawsuit, and then, of course, there's her. The Jarl's daughter. Her eyes are sharp. Her braid is tighter than a warrior's grip. And she's walking straight toward you like she's the one who just fought 3 Saxons and a hallucinated bear. She stops in front of you, folds her arms and says, "You're the one who bit a spear, right?" You nod. It sounded cooler in the moment. "Don't get any ideas," she says. "You're not even the wildest berserker my father's hired." She walks away. You are now both terrified and deeply intrigued. Mainstream history often skips these kinds of details. But feasting was a crucial social mechanism in Viking society. It was where bonds were formed, rivalries simmered, and occasionally, entire marriages were arranged because someone complimented a stew too. Enthusiastically, the skald takes the center of the longhouse and begins his saga. It's loud, poetic, dramatic. And then he roared with the fury of Thor, split the skies, and shattered 12 shields in a single breath. You're not sure any of that happened, but the way people cheer you almost start believing it. You catch the Jarl's eye. He raises his horn to you. "Good fight," he says. "Next time, aim for the priests." You nod again. You think that was a joke. You hope that was a joke. Outside, a storm is rolling in. Thunder cracks softly in the distance. You step away from the crowd for a breath of night air. Cold wind hits your face. You spot a few stars peeking through the clouds. Somewhere, an owl hoots like it's judging you. Fair. You think about Torsten, still bandaged, still recovering. You think about the bare vision, about Odin, about the fleeting moment earlier tonight when your feet felt like tree roots, and your breath was steam rising through the world tree. And then you remember the mushrooms and decide maybe don't overthink it. Quirky fact of the night. Some Viking feasts included riddle contests. Verbal battles of wit. Loser had to drink something called kvass, which was fermented honey mixed with spit. You're genuinely glad no one brought that out. Tonight, as the fire dims and the laughter softens into tired chuckles and snoring, you return to your furs. The longhouse smells like smoke and sweat and warm meat. Someone's already started sleep-muttering battle cries. You roll up in your bearskin, still tingling from either glory or gastrointestinal distress. You've earned a place here, a name, maybe even a verse in someone's saga. But deep inside, a question brews. What happens when the rage fades? Are you without the howl? For now, though, sleep, mead dreams. And maybe keep one eye open for Odin, just in case. Word count, 1086. Your head is pounding. It's not like a gentle, too much mead throb, more like a smithy's anvil being struck inside your skull. You groan and sit up, discovering several unfortunate truths at once. Your mouth is dry, your arms are sore. Someone drew runes on your forehead in soot, and worst of all, the sun is already up. Worse than that. The Jarl's daughter is sitting across the hall, staring at you with an expression that says, "Yes, I remember everything." Viking hangovers are no joke. Outside the longhouse, the village stirs with early morning life. The chickens are loud. The goats are louder. Somewhere, someone is practicing with a sword far too enthusiastically for this hour. You grope around for your bearskin, pull it over your shoulders like a comfort blanket of rage and bad decisions, and stumble to your feet. Your first step, a mistake. Sharp pain shoots through your thigh. You vaguely recall trying to leap over a fire pit last night to impress someone. Judging by the laughter echoing in your skull now, you didn't stick the landing. The village healer. An old woman with one eye and absolutely zero patience tosses you a waterskin and smacks you on the back hard enough to dislodge a memory or two. Drink, stink less, she says. You're not sure if she means physically or spiritually. Possibly both. Back in the main hall, Skull is still asleep next to a barrel of pickled fish. His squirrel somehow looks better rested than you. You nod at it. It nods back. You're not sure if that actually happened. The Jarl summons you before breakfast, which is never a great sign. You find him near the docks, watching as supplies are loaded onto a newly tarred longship. He gestures for you to join him, eyes squinting into the sun. "We sail again soon," he says. Not a raid. A message? You blink. "You want me to talk?" He chuckles. "Gods, no. I want them to listen. Apparently, you've been volunteered to travel a priver and remind a certain neighboring clan that they owe your Jarl tribute. You're to take a few warriors, look terrifying, and return with either silver or a very persuasive hostage. You nod, partly because it sounds like a good chance to clear your head, partly because the Jarl looks like someone who doesn't accept no. On the way back, you pass Torsten. He's walking again limping, but upright. He claps you on the shoulder. "Still breathing, I see. Disappointing." You smirk. "Don't worry," he adds. "Next raid, I'll stand behind you. Far behind." Alice, joking. You think mainstream historians paint the Viking world as unrelentingly brutal. But the social life was more complex than just stabbing and pillaging. There were feasts, laws, family alliances, and yes, the occasional deeply awkward morning after. You help with preparations, loading weapons. Packing dried fish, selecting which berserkers are least likely to eat their own boatmates. You're starting to realize that being a feared warrior doesn't excuse you from chores. You also learn very painfully how bad you are at tying knots as the sun rises higher. You wander back through the village. Children are playing with carved wooden swords, pretending to be you. One yells your name before slaying his friend. In a dramatic heap, you're halfway flattered, halfway alarmed. You duck into the longhouse again to grab your gear. The Jarl's daughter is still there, still watching. She raises an eyebrow. You remember anything from last night? She asks, you freeze. Some of it. You challenged a tree to a duel. You pause. Did I win? She smirks. You insisted. It surrendered. Good. That's one less oak to worry about. She stands, walks past you, then stops. Try not to get yourself killed. We need at least one berserker around here who doesn't scream in his sleep. You want to reply, but your brain is still buffering. She's already gone. Quirky detail of the day. Vikings didn't just drink mead, they also used it to disinfect wounds. Which means, technically, your entire bloodstream is a healing potion. Not a great potion, but still. The rest of the day is quiet. For a Viking village, anyway. There's sword training in the yard. A goat has escaped again. Someone's arguing over who stole whose fishing net. The skald is composing more lines to your saga. You catch something about fur like fire and eyes like doom. Not exactly accurate, but you'll take it. You retreat to the cliff overlooking the fjord. From here, the sea looks endless. The wind is clean. The air smells like pine and salt and possibilities. You close your eyes, breathe, let the noise fade. You're starting to wonder what lies beyond rage, beyond battle, beyond the next feast and the next scar. Maybe you're not just a berserker anymore. Maybe you're something else taking shape. Or maybe that's just the residual mushroom stew talking. Either way, tomorrow you set sail again, and hopefully, this time, you won't bite any spears. The sky is a bruised gray when you rise the next morning moody. Heavy and vaguely threatening, like Thor might have woken up on the wrong side of his cloud. You strap your axe to your back, wrap the bearskin tight around your shoulders, and step onto the longship with the confidence of someone pretending they didn't forget to pack socks. Again, your mission is simple. Deliver a message of pay us or regret it. But with berserkers, even simple tasks tend to spiral into epic ballads or flaming disasters, possibly both. The sail billows as you push off. The fjord is cold and glassy. The oarsmen settle into rhythm, and the boat glides forward. You sit near the front, staring at the ripples, thinking about things you're not sure you have the words for. Like whether the bear inside you ever truly sleeps. Or why the Jarl keeps choosing you for these missions. When you're one bad mushroom away from yelling at the sky again, a few hours later, you dock at a smaller settlement at no guards at the shore. Just a couple of bored-looking fishermen and a very suspicious goat. You disembark with your team, 2 hardened berserkers, a giant who only answers to clunk and skull, who's decided this is the perfect time to debut a new squirrel-sized helmet for his animal companion. It's bedazzled. You pretend not to notice. You march straight into the village. Heads turn. Doors close. You don't say a word. You don't have to. You're wrapped in a blood-splotched bearskin, and one of your boots is literally smoking for some reason. Image is everything. The chieftain here is a nervous man with a greasy beard and a smile that says, "Please don't kill me." He meets you in the longhouse, flanked by 2 very unimpressive bodyguards. You plant your axe on the floor with a heavy thunk and deliver the Jarl's message. You're late on silver. You were warned. He swallows hard. We had a bad harvest. You raise one eyebrow. Very slightly. It's enough. but we'll pay. Soon, soon. Of course. You nod once, say nothing, and turn to leave. That should be it. But then he mutters something just under his breath. It's just loud enough. Mad dogs in bearskins. You stop. The room goes silent. One of your men shifts uncomfortably. Skull's squirrel freezes mid-dash nibble. You slowly turn back. What did you say? The chieftain chuckles nervously. Only that berserkers have a reputation. Not always stable. The gods favor discipline, not rage. And there it is, that old wound. The not-so-secret truth. Even among Vikings, berserkers are half feared, half mocked. Tools of war. Loosed when needed, leashed the rest of the time. You see it in his eyes. He doesn't see a warrior. He sees a weapon. Or worse, an accident waiting to happen. Historians still argue whether berserkers were respected elites or dangerous outcasts barely tolerated in society. Moments like this, you can see how it could be both. You step forward, slow and deliberate. Would you like to test my discipline? You ask. The guards flinch. The chieftain goes pale. No, no. Of course not, he stammers. You misunderstand, but the silence has already done its work. You turn again and walk out, this time with a bit more stomp than necessary. Skull trots behind, humming some nonsense about squirrels and lightning. Back on the ship, your crew is quiet. Even Clunk seems thoughtful, and he once tried to fight a shadow. You sit at the bow, staring into the water. Quirky belief of the day. Some Vikings thought that goats could predict storms. Supposedly, if a goat sneezed facing the sea, bad weather was coming. You glance at the suspicious goat on the shore behind you. It sneezes, loudly. Facing the sea? Of course it does. By the time you make it back to your village, the rain has already started. You trudge through the mud, dripping and brooding. The Jarl meets you at the longhouse, slaps your back, and laughs when you scowl. Well done, he says. No blood this time. That's growth. You grunt. Still, he adds, more serious now. I heard what he said. Don't let it rot in your head. Berserkers are feared because they're necessary. Not everyone has to like you. You nod. You know he means well. But it doesn't help. Later that night, you visit the seer. She lives near the edge of the forest, in a hut that smells like smoke, herbs, and mystery. Her eyes are milky, her voice like wind through dry leaves. You've seen the bear again, she says before you even sit down. You blink. How do you stink of it, she mutters, lighting a bowl of something that smells like moss and memories. You ask her what the bear means. Why it won't leave you. Why you're still trembling inside, even when your axe is at peace. She doesn't answer directly. Seers rarely do. The bear is not rage, she says. It is the fear of losing who you are inside it. You sit with that uncomfortably. Before you leave, she gives you a small rune carved in bone. Keep it close, she says. It doesn't stop the fury, but it might remind you of your name. You return to the longhouse in silence. The fire crackles. Rain taps on the roof. You curl into your bearskin, rune in hand, and wonder, will you always be this thing they fear? Or is there a version of you beyond the howl? You don't hear the thunder until it's already too late. One moment, you're dozing on the longship's deck under the low hum of a clear sky. The next, a surge of icy seawater crashes over you like Thor's very personal wake-up call. You sputter, flail upright, and immediately register three things. The sky is black. The sail is flapping violently, and your ship is absolutely, definitely, unforgivably not where it's supposed to be. Where's the coast? Someone yells. Good question. Waves slam the hull, lifting and dropping it like a drunk tossing a stick. The oarsmen are screaming now, some at each other, some at the gods, one definitely at a seagull. You try to grab the railing, but it jerks violently, hurling you onto a pile of soaked gear. You're pretty sure you just elbowed Clunk in the face. He doesn't notice, and then you hear it. The crack, it's not thunder. It's wood. The mast snaps like a snapped bone, crashing down with an awful crunch and a scream. The ship lurches sideways. You tumble into the freezing water, the cold knocking the breath out of your chest like a warhammer to the ribs. You fight to surface, kicking hard, arms flailing for something, anything. You finally grab a shattered plank and cling to it, gasping. Around you, the sea is a chaos of limbs, wood, and what might have once been someone's dinner goat. The storm rages. Lightning flashes briefly illuminate the nightmare. Your longship capsized. The sail tangled, berserkers flailing like cats in a sack. You hear one of them yelling about Odin coming to take him home. Another's just yelling at the storm to fight him properly. Then, darkness. When you wake, you're cold. Colder than you've ever been. Not the kind of cold that makes you shiver, the kind that numbs your bones and makes you think. Maybe being unconscious wasn't so bad after all. You're lying face down in wet sand. There's a crab pinching your ear. You swat it away and roll onto your back. The storm's past, leaving behind only broken sky and the low hiss of retreating waves. You sit up, dazed, trying to piece things together. Your bearskin is missing. Your axe is gone. Your pride is currently somewhere out at sea, being nibbled on by fish. You scan the shore. Wreckage everywhere. Planks, barrels, a half-submerged Clunk, snoring loudly and wrapped around a seaweed-covered log. At least he made it. You stagger to your feet and immediately regret it. Every part of your body is either bruised, soggy, or both. You try yelling, but your voice cracks. So instead, you hobble inland toward a ridge. From there, you finally see it. A monastery, not a village. Not a Viking camp. A quiet, peaceful, utterly unprepared little cluster of Christian monks and stone walls. You sigh. The gods are really leaning into irony today. You limp down the slope, hoping to blend in, which is difficult when you're a 6-foot-tall, wild-haired, half-naked Norseman stumbling out of the sea like a very aggressive seaweed spirit. The monks spot you. They scream. One drops a loaf of bread. Another tries to fight you with a broom. You throw up your hands and collapse to your knees. No axe, no berserk. Just ... wet. They blink. You blink. Finally, an older monk steps forward and offers you water. That's how you end up inside a monastery, wrapped in a scratchy wool blanket, sipping soup that tastes like boiled sadness. Quirky tidbit of the day. Some Viking raiders did end up forming weird alliances with local monks. They even traded occasionally books for furs, food for silver. Once, a Norseman apparently converted to Christianity just because he liked the fish pie. You're not converting anytime soon, but you're also not in a position to argue. The monks try not to stare. You can feel their confusion. You're a creature from their nightmares, and yet, here you are, trying to figure out how to eat soup with a broken spoon and a swollen lip. They give you a place to sleep. It's a straw bed. You sink into it, aching, miserable, grateful. At some point during the night, you dream of your axe. It's stuck in a rock underwater, glowing faintly. You try to reach for it, but the tide pulls you back. When you wake, a monk is watching you. You fought in the storm, he says in broken Norse. You nod. You lived, he says. More quietly, you don't have an answer for that. Outside, the sun is rising. You're still breathing, still sore, still uncertain how you went from feared berserker to accidental shipwreck, monk guessed. You're offered porridge. You eat it in silence. It's terrible. But you clean the bowl. Historians still debate whether Norse and Christian interactions were always violent. Some records show deep enmity. Others reveal surprising tolerance. You're currently leaning into the awkward hospitality interpretation. Before you leave, the old monk gives you a wrapped bundle. Inside is a simple walking stick and a satchel with dried bread, herbs, and something that might be cheese. You bow your head in thanks, unsure of the customs. But it feels right. You step out onto the road again, barefoot, bruised, and bearing zero weapons. But with something strange building in your chest. Something that isn't rage, maybe humility, or maybe just a craving for salted fish. Either way, you've got a long walk ahead. The road stretches on like a bad idea long, winding and covered in more rocks than seems strictly necessary. You limp along it anyway, barefoot and mildly sunburnt. Your only companion, a walking stick that keeps trying to jab you in the opposite direction. You miss your axe. You miss your bearskin. You even miss Skull's squirrel. Almost by late afternoon, you find a crossroads with a standing stone etched in runes. It points vaguely toward home, though you're not entirely sure. Whose home? You pick the path heading north. Why? Because it smells faintly of fish and wood smoke. You've made worse decisions with less logic. Your body still aches from the storm. Your side is bruised. Your pride is doing worse. You're supposed to be a berserker, feared across coasts, the first into battle, the last to fall. And yet, here you are, a damp, blistered man eating monk cheese and talking to a stick. You start singing just to keep yourself sane. A low, gravelly hum-a-song your mother used to sing when storms rolled in. You remember her hands, rough but steady. You remember her stories. She said rage could be a gift, but only if you chose where to throw it. Eventually, you spot movement ahead. 2 figures, armed. They haven't seen you yet. You step off the path, hiding behind a crooked tree, watching carefully. Travelers, raiders, or worse, tax collectors. They draw closer. You recognize the tunic pattern. Mercenaries. Saxon, by the look. Paid steel. You've met their kind before, fought them, even usually drunk, often overconfident, but dangerous when desperate. They pause at the standing stone. One spits on it. The other carves something into the dirt with his boot. You can't hear what they say, but the tone is ugly. Mocking, they laugh. Then turn down the same path you came from. You watch them disappear down the trail toward the monastery. Your jaw tightens. You could keep walking. You should keep walking. After all, you're in no shape for a fight. No weapons. No backup. No bear-fueled trance. But your legs are already moving. The monks may not be your people, but they helped you. And if there's one thing Vikings respect more than strength, it's a favor owed. You follow the mercenaries' trail with a growing burn in your chest. You're not quite sure if it's rage, indigestion from the cheese, or both. Either way, it's moving your feet faster. By dusk, you reach the monastery again, quiet, peaceful to quiet. You slip around the side wall, crouching low. Your eyes scan the courtyard, and then you see them. The 2 mercenaries are inside the chapel, ransacking. What little there is to steal: books, candlesticks, a gold cross. The monks are huddled in a corner, guarded by one of the mercenaries with a dagger. The other one's shouting something about payment and soft cowards. You don't wait. You grab a broken piece of cart axle from the ground. Hefty, solid, and splintery. Not an axe, but it'll do. You burst through the doorway like a one-man storm. The mercenary guarding the monks turns, sneers, then lunges. You sidestep. Barely don't you bring the makeshift club down hard across his wrist. The dagger clatters away. You follow with a shove too. The chest that knocks him into the wall. He slumps, groaning. The other one drops the gold cross and charges with a snarl. Bigger than you, faster too. He tackles you hard, sending you both crashing into a table. Your back screams. Your vision blurs. You smell blood. You grit your teeth and let it in. Not the full berserker trance knot, the all-consuming rage. But a thread of it. Just enough. You swing wild. The first hit misses. The second lands. His nose crunches. He reels. You headbutt him because, why not? He staggers back, dazed. You grab the fallen cross. It's heavier than it looks. You raise it like a hammer and slam it into his knee. He drops with a howl. Silence. The monks stare at you. Wide-eyed. You spit blood and nod. Still no axe. You mutter. They help you bind the mercenaries, using whatever cloth and rope they can find. The old monk brings water, shaking his head. You came back, he says. You shrugged. Had nowhere better to be. Mainstream Viking lore tends to skip stories like this, ones without ships, or flames, or treasure. But every berserker worth there. Salt knows that some of the hardest battles happen when no one's writing sagas. You spend the night at the monastery again. They insist. They give you a cot this time. And a small pouch of herbs for your wounds. One monk even tries to bless. You. You let him? Couldn't hurt. Quirky belief. Some Norsemen believed that small acts of mercy could balance out years of violence, like one single drop of clean water falling into a bloody river. You're not sure you believe that, but you want. 2. The next morning. You wake early, refreshed. Mostly the monks gift you a wooden staff, better than the splintery cart's axle. You thank them, then head north once more. No fanfare, no saga. Just the road, the wind, and your slow, quiet footsteps. And maybe, just maybe, a small piece of peace riding on your shoulder. You walk until your feet forget the bruises. The road meanders through low hills and quiet woods. The kind of place where the birds never shut up and every twig snap makes your shoulders tense. You're not used to this kind of silence. No battle. Drums, no drunken songs. Just wind and squirrels and your own thoughts, possibly the most dangerous company of all. You've been traveling for days now. Your new staff has become a reliable companion. It doesn't split skulls like your axe, but it helps you climb hills, shoo away overly curious goats, and occasionally poke suspicious puddles. You've also picked up a habit of talking to it. You tell yourself it's for morale. Whose morale? That's unclear. By mid-morning, you reach a river crossing. There's no bridge, just a fallen tree stretched over the rushing water. It's narrow, slick, treacherous. You sigh. The universe continues to test your dignity. You start across, barefoot, balancing carefully. Halfway through, a raven caws. Behind you, you flinch. A squirrel bolts out from the roots and your foot slips. You don't fall exactly. But you do end up straddling the log in a very undignified way, gripping the bark and questioning every choice that led to this moment. Eventually, you make it across. Barely, you stand, brush off the moss, and glance skyward. Any more trials today, Allfather? The raven caws again. You're pretty sure that was laughter? You keep walking. By afternoon, you spot smoke on the horizon, not fire, just the thin, lazy stream of a village hearth. Relief floods your chest. Food, shelter, possibly a chance to find out if your left toe is permanently broken or just auditioning for a tragic saga verse. As you near, the village comes into view. It's small, nestled between two hills, with only a short wooden palisade and one sad-looking guard chewing on a turnip. You approach slowly, hands visible, staff held harmlessly across your shoulders. The guard eyes you warily. Traveler, you. Nod, hungry one. He gestures you through with a grunt. Hospitality isn't dead, just very grumpy. Inside, the village is alive with simple routines. Women baking bread, children chasing geese. Blacksmiths hammering out tools instead of swords. A few heads turn as you pass, but no one screams. That's progress. You trade a small, carved rune gifted by the monastery for a bowl of stew and some bread. The stew is mostly turnip, possibly entirely turnip. You eat it anyway, quietly savoring warmth that doesn't come from a fire or fury. Later, you find a seat near the blacksmith's forge, letting the heat seep into your bones. The smith glances at you, noting your travel-worn clothes, your mismatched scars, your haunted eyes. You look like a man with stories, he says. You shrug. I've forgotten half of them. Then tell the ones you still remember, so you do. You speak softly, voice low, slow. You tell him of the storm, of the monastery, of the mercenaries. You leave out the bare dreams. He listens without judgment, nodding occasionally, as if every Viking who wanders through here carries a shadow or two. He offers you work in exchange for a bed. Not smithing you'd be a danger to yourself and everyone within 30 feet, but hauling, chopping, cleaning. You agree? It feels good to move with purpose again, even if it's not swinging a weapon. The next day, you split wood behind the longhouse. It's honest work. Your hands blister, your shoulders ache, but there's peace in it. Nobody's yelling. Nobody's dying. A small boy watches you, wide-eyed. You raise your brow. He runs off and comes back, dragging a stick. Teach me, he asks. You freeze. You almost say no. But instead, you kneel beside him. Show him how to grip it, how to balance his stance. You go slow, gentle, no battle cries. No rage, just breath. Mainstream Viking history glorifies the warriors, the raiders, the death-fueled glory chasers. But there were those who laid down swords, who farmed, who passed down skills not in fire, but in patience. You never thought you'd become one of them. That night, the villagers light a small fire near the central hall. People gather eating, laughing, telling stories. You're invited to sit. You do. Someone hands you a wooden cup of something that might be mead or possibly fermented disappointment. You drink it anyway. A girl sings an old song, one you haven't heard since childhood. You hum along without realizing. It ends, no one claps. Just quiet appreciation. The fire crackles. A baby cries. A dog snores. You lie under the stars that night, wrapped in a borrowed blanket, staring up at the sky. No visions, no bears. Just stars. Cold, distant, honest, quirky detail. Vikings used the stars to navigate, of course, but some also believed. Certain constellations told your fate. You wonder what yours is? Maybe a broken or goat standing defiantly on a ship's prow as sleep pulls you in. You realize something strange. You haven't clenched your fists all day, not once, not even when the stew had turned up again. You're healing slowly, but maybe that's enough. You've been in the village for 6 days, longer than you've ever stayed in one place without a raid, a battle, or someone shouting your name in panic. 6 entire days without drawing blood. The world hasn't ended. No lightning bolts. Odin smiting you for laziness. You're starting to feel ... calm, and it's unnerving. You chop wood in the mornings, patch fences in the afternoons. In the evenings, you sit by the fire with the blacksmith and his neighbors, listening to their worries bad harvests, stubborn goats, one man who swears a fox is stealing his socks. Nothing dramatic, just life. Strange, gentle, repetitive life. There's a rhythm to it. The children aren't afraid of you anymore. One of them braids a flower crown and shoves it on your head. You let it sit there. It doesn't really go with your scarred face and permanent scowl, but apparently it makes you look less terrifying. You'll take it, the blacksmith offers, to make you a proper staff, forged with iron caps. Not quite an axe, he says, but good for walking, or cracking heads if necessary. You accept? It feels like a gift, not a weapon. A tool. One night, you sit alone under the stars, tracing the edge of the iron-capped staff and thinking about your past. The battles, the rage, the blind, roaring heat that used to swallow you whole. And then you remember the seer's words. The bear is not rage. It is the fear of losing who you are inside it. You still don't know what she meant, but lately you've begun to suspect the bear might not be your enemy. It might be something else, a companion, a guardian, or maybe just another part of you waiting to be understood. Then one morning, everything changes. A rider arrives, breathless, his horse lathered in sweat. The villagers crowd around him as he shouts the news. The Jarl is dead. The words hit. Like a hammer to your chest, you push forward. What happened? The rider looks at you, hesitating only a moment. Ambushed. On the road back from Heideby. Arrows, fire. No survivors. The blacksmith curses under his breath. Others begin to murmur. Fear ripples through the crowd. You stand still, heart pounding. The Jarl man who took you in, who fed you after your first raid, who trusted you to deliver messages no one else would dare carry gone. Just like that. Historians still argue whether Viking Jarls were truly powerful rulers or merely the loudest voices in a village of strong men. But your Jarl, he was power. He was structure. And now the structure is gone. You ask the rider who rules now. No one, he says. His sons fight over it. The hall is in chaos. Some have already broken away. There's talk of vengeance. Blood feuds, maybe even war. You feel it's a bear stirring, a roaring. Not raging, just ... waking. Slowly that night, you sit by the fire, but no one speaks. The village feels smaller, the shadows longer. The calm you'd been sinking into shatters under the weight of uncertainty. You could stay. No one would stop. You, the villagers like you. You have a place now, but the Jarl gave you your name, gave you your chance, and now the man who forged your path lies, burned on a forgotten road. You know what you must do. You rise early the next morning. The blacksmith is already awake. He nods when he sees your pack. You'll need this, he says, handing you a small blade. Not for war, just for the road. You clasp his wrist. Thank you for everything. He just grunts. Don't get too soft out there. Someone's got to scare the goats. You smile. A real one. It's almost unfamiliar on your face. You leave. As the sun climbs over the hills, casting long gold streaks across the road. Ahead, you're not marching to war, not yet, but you're going home to the chaos. To the brothers you bled with. To the hall where the mead once flowed and songs were sung in your name. To a place that may not be yours anymore, but still calls your name like thunder on the fjord. Quirky Viking fact. They believed the soul could live in many parts of the body, not just the heart. Some even claimed your soul could settle in your legs, driving you to walk when your mind wasn't sure where to go. You walk all day and into the night, and the bear walks with you, not to rage, to remember. The road back to your homeland feels longer than it ever did the first time you left it. Maybe it's the weight of what you're walking toward, or maybe it's just your knees reminding you that rage doesn't stop joints from aging. You pass through forests that once knew your war cries. Villages where your name still hangs in the air like smoke. Some faces recognize you. Some pretend not to. A few offer food. One child hides behind her mother and whispers, "Is that the bear man?" You don't correct her. The Jarl is dead. his hall torn in two by his sons. And you're walking into it like a man carrying a torch into a hay barn. You arrive at the edge of your old village as the sun dips behind the mountains, staining the sky like spilled mead. It hasn't changed much. Wooden houses, smoke curling from chimneys, the sea beyond, dark and endless. But the silence is wrong. You hear it before you see it, shouting from the longhouse. Metal against metal, not battle, training, or posturing. The kind of noise men make when they think they deserve thrones. You step into the square. A few villagers notice and freeze. Then someone mutters your name. You catch it, sharp as a thrown axe. The longhouse doors burst open. Two men stumble out, locked in a shoving match. Both broad-shouldered, both bearded, both angry. The Jarl's sons Halfdan and Leif. They stop when they see you. Halfdan points, he returns. Look at him, he reeks of soot and shame. Leif smirks. No, he reeks of turnips. A few laughs, tense, uncertain. You don't speak? You walk forward slowly, past old neighbors, old allies, old ghosts, into the longhouse. The fire pit still smolders at the center. Banners still hang. But one has been torn, your Jarl's personal sigil, slashed down the middle. You turn to face the brothers. Leif gestures wide. The hall is ours now. Our father's dead, but we will rule together, or not at all. Halfdan snorts. You mean you'll rule, and I'll do the work. They start arguing again. You let them? You're busy scanning the room looking for others. There's Torsten in the corner, arms folded. He nods at you. Skal's nearby too, polishing a new axe that looks like it was made to offend gods. The squirrel is back. It seems larger, angrier. You decide not to ask. Finally, you step between the brothers. You're both wrong, you say. They freeze. Your father didn't raise fools. He didn't forge a hall of whiners. He raised warriors. He built something that lasted. And now you're tearing it apart like drunk goats fighting over a barrel. A beat of silence. Then Halfdan laughs. And what would you do, Bearman? Lead us? No, you reply calmly. I've led enough raids. I've seen enough blood. But I won't let you burn this place just because you can't decide who gets the bigger chair. Leif sneers. Then fight us? Settle it the old way. Torsten speaks up from the corner. Or maybe we settle it the smart way. You two can't lead if you tear each other apart. You need someone you both trust. Silence. Everyone looks at you. You sigh. Don't even think about it. But they already are. Historians still argue whether Viking leadership was earned by bloodline, by blade, or by sheer stubborn survival. You suspect it was a messy mix of all three, and you've just been volunteered by default. That night, the hall gathers. A feast is thrown not in celebration, but in recognition. The Jarl's ashes are brought forth. Each warrior places a token beside the meringue, a weapon, a carving. You offer a piece of your old bearskin cloak. The charred edge still smells of the first village you raided. Skal raises a toast. To the Jarl, and to the stubborn ghost who came back from the sea. Laughter this time. Real, warm, grateful. You eat slowly. Not with the rage of a warrior stuffing meat between battles, but like a man who's finally tasted stillness. Later, Leif and Halfdan approach you together. They're not arguing. That's progress, Leif says. We still want to lead, Halfdan adds, but maybe. With guidance. You raise an eyebrow. You're asking a berserker to be wise. Halfdan shrugs. You're the only one who's survived you. That counts for something. Quirky cultural fact. Viking warriors often retired not into death, but into respected old age. They'd become lawkeepers, advisors, even poets. The men they once led still sought their counsel even if their axes had long since rusted. You're not that old yet, but maybe this is the beginning. That night, you return to your old room. Dusty, untouched, you sit by the small window, staring at the moon, and you wonder not for the first time what it means to be a warrior. When the war is over, you hear someone behind you. It's the Jarl's daughter. She hasn't changed much. I thought you were dead, she says. I was, you reply. A few times, she smiles. Don't stay up too late. You're important now. She leaves. You blink, important. You've been feared, mocked, called mad, called bear. But never that, you settle into the silence. Not as a berserker, but maybe something steadier. The next morning, you wake before the sun. Old habits die hard, especially the ones carved into your spine from years of pre-dawn raids and frozen armor straps. But this morning, you don't reach for your axe. You reach for your staff and a piece of bread. You've changed. A little. You step outside. The village is quiet. Smoke drifts lazily from hearths. The sea murmurs in the distance, still half asleep. You walk toward the training yard, where you used to spar with the younger warriors back when you still thought you'd live forever. Torsten's already there, swinging a heavy sword like he's trying to argue with gravity. You join him without a word, grabbing a wooden sparring stick from the rack. Not your style, but today isn't about blood. You circle each other. Two wolves with graying fur. He lunges, you parry. It's clumsy at first. Your footwork rusty, your shoulders stiff, but it comes back. The rhythm, the weight, the dance, eventually. He grins. Still got that twitch in your left elbow. You smirk. Still rely too much on your right foot. He laughs. You keep sparring until the sun climbs over the ridge, bathing the yard in gold. This is what peace feels like. Sweat instead of screams. Bruises instead of wounds. Later, as you help mend the watchtower railing, you hear rumors, whispers, really? Of warships spotted offshore. Not Viking ships, not Danish. Sleeker, faster. Foreign. A merchant confirms it that evening. Franks or worse Normans. Scouts saw their sails, he says. They didn't land yet. The longhouse grows tense. Memories surface. The last time foreign ships came, half the coast burned. And your Jarl died on one of those roads. Halfdan wants to gather every warrior and strike first. Leif wants to send envoys and talk. You're asked for your opinion. For once, you pause. There's no glory in guessing, you say. We don't know what they want, but we'll be ready if they bring fire. You organize patrols, quiet ones. You inspect weapons, fortify weak points, update supply stores. You're not preparing for a raid, you're preparing for something heavier. Defense historians often paint Vikings as the aggressors, fierce, unrelenting, never on the defensive. But even the fiercest raiders knew how to guard what mattered. The ones who didn't. Their bones are still buried beneath smoking fields. At dusk, a horn sounds from the northern watchpost. You rush up the hill, heart already quickening. Nothing on the horizon, but tracks fresh ones lead from the forest edge. 3 sets, not local. Boots, to clean. Strides to light dot spies. You gather a small party skull. Clunk, who's somehow still alive, and 2 young warriors. You move into the woods, silent, low. Every shadow a possible ambush. After an hour, you spot them. 3 scouts. Lightly armored, speaking in low, clipped tones you don't recognize. They carry knives, parchments, and one of them has a small spyglass, rare, expensive. You could charge, you don't instead. You whistle a sharp bird call. The others fan out. 1 scout flees instantly. The second fumbles for a weapon. The third just freezes, caught. You catch the runner. He's fast. You're faster. You tackle him into a patch of brambles. He curses in a language you only halfway understand. You don't need a translator. He's afraid. Back in the village, the scouts are tied up, questioned. They say they were sent to observe. They won't say who sent them, but the maps in their satchels speak louder than words. Your village, your fjord, marked clearly. They weren't just watching, they were planning. You meet with Leif and Halfdan privately. They're testing our walls, you say. They'll come soon, not for trade. Leif looks worried. Halfdan looks excited. We fight. Halfdan asks. Eventually, you answer. But we choose when. We don't scream. We sharpen. And that becomes your new task. Not to rage, not to pillage, but to prepare. You train the younger warriors with patience you didn't know you had. You teach them how to hold anger, not be held by it, how to breathe, how to step, not just swing. One boy asks, "Were you really a berserker?" You pause, then nod. "I was. Are you still?" You think for a moment. Only if I have to be. That night, you stand by the cliffside, watching the stars again. You trace the constellations. One looks like a hammer, another a ship. And one, if you squint, might just be a bear curled around a fire. Quirky fact of the night. Some Vikings believed the northern lights were the shining armor of the Valkyries as they galloped across the sky. Others said it was the reflection of their ancestors' swords, still fighting in the next world. Tonight, the sky is quiet, but the village is awake, and you are no longer just a bear. You are the shield. You never plan to become a teacher or a wall, or whatever it is the village sees when they look at you now. Not the wild-eyed berserker of your younger days, but the man who doesn't flinch when news of war comes, who sharpens blades without shaking, who teaches with steady hands and a quiet voice. You spend your mornings training others, not just the strong ones either. You work with the boy who limps from an old injury, the girl with a grip like a raven's claw, even the elder who once farmed turnips but now insists on learning to swing a sword. You teach them all, not because you want an army, but because they deserve to feel strong. That's the real secret. You realize not strength for violence, but strength against fear. Some days, you find yourself pacing the longhouse, hands behind your back like some kind of war chieftain. The thought makes you snort. You used to charge at enemies half-naked with blood in your teeth. You're scalding clunk for storing spears next to the drying fish. The world changes. You're proof of that. But not all change comes easy. One fog-drenched morning, a ship appears on the horizon. Not a fleet, just one. But sleek, foreign, and far too quiet. Everyone gathers on the shore, weapons in hand, hearts thudding in their chests. The ship doesn't dock. It lingers, sails shifting, crew barely visible. Then it turns, glides away like a whisper on the wind. A scout you've trained approaches, pale-faced. Testing our reaction, he says, "They're watching." You nod. Let them watch. Later, you gather the council. Not just Leif and Halfdan, but elders, smiths, healers, anyone who calls this place home. You spread out the map, lay stones on key points, watchtowers, paths, fallback shelters. You're not the Jarl. You don't want to be, but you've become the voice people lean toward when the shadows get long. Defending this village doesn't mean waiting for them to attack, you say. It means preparing so they never want to. They listen, even Halfdan, though he fidgets like a wolf trying not to pace. You send envoys to nearby villages, quiet messages, shared warnings. If the invaders are scouting this fjord, they're scouting others too. One of your patrols returns with news. A distant farmstead burned. No survivors. Markings on the ground unfamiliar. Not Viking, not even Saxon. Something else. The enemy is real now. No longer ghosts on sails. You double the watch. You teach the smith to forge quicker spearheads and the healer to make salves for burns. Everyone has a role. You even rebuild the bear shrine, the one you thought you'd left behind. Not as a worship site, but as a symbol. A reminder. Not every fight is about rage. Some are about resolve. One night, as the village sleeps and the torches burn low, you're visited by a raven. Not metaphorically, a real one. It lands on the longhouse roof and stares at you like it knows something you don't. You offer it a scrap of meat. It blinks slowly, takes the offering, and flies off. Quirky Norse belief. Some thought ravens carried news to Odin himself. Others believed they were the souls of fallen warriors watching over their people. You're not sure what you believe, but you watch the sky a little longer that night. The next morning, Skall approaches you with a grin too wide to trust. "We need to test the defenses," he says. You sigh. "This involves fire, doesn't it?" "Just a small amount," he lies, so you let him. Better a controlled disaster than a real one later. He stages a mock ambush using villagers in wolf masks and stolen laundry. It's chaos. It's ridiculous. It teaches you more in an hour than weeks of drills ever did. The village laughs afterward. Tension breaks like old ice. And laughter, as it turns out, is armor too. You sit by the fire that night, listening to the younger warriors retell the fake raid with wild exaggeration. He leaped from the roof like a bear possessed. There were at least 12 wolves, probably 15. Pretty sure the goat was in on it. You smile quietly. Not because the stories are true, but because they're ready. The war hasn't come yet. But you no longer fear its arrival. You're not what you used to be. You'll never be the wild creature who screamed into battle without blinking. But you've become something stronger. A keeper, a flame dash holder, a storm dash watcher. And if the sea sends war again, it won't find your village sleeping. It will find you, standing still, breathing steady, holding the line not because you must, but because now you choose to. You sleep less, no, not from worry, but from watchfulness. Each night, you patrol the village perimeter in silence. Your footsteps soft, your iron-capped staff tapping a gentle rhythm on stone and dirt. The cold air bites, but you welcome it. It reminds you that you're still alive, still useful, still you. On the fourth night, you see it. A light, far off, at sea. A ship, no dash ships. Multiple. Their sails are low, lanterns shielded. They're trying to come in quietly. You kneel on the cliff edge, heart pounding. The bear inside you shifts, not roaring, not wild, but ready. You run back to the village, fast and silent. By the time the first ship reaches the shore, the torches are lit. The alarms sounded, and the warriors gathered, still sleepy, but armed, focused. You meet Leif and Halfdan at the barricade. The younger one is pale, knuckles white around his sword. "They're here," he says. "Yes," you reply. "Let them land, 'cause now you control the ground." The first clash comes at dawn. The enemy taller, leaner, wearing leather armor, marked with strange sigils charges. In small groups, skilled, disciplined, but unprepared for your terrain. They expect fear. They find strategy. You watch it unfold like a story you wrote in charcoal and sweat. Villagers pull back to draw the enemy into narrow paths. Archers hidden in trees pick off stragglers. And in the chaos, you wait, staff in hand, crouched near the old bear shrine. The moment comes, 3 of them break through, charging toward the heart of the village. You step forward. You don't roar. You don't chant. You don't let the bear consume you. You channel it. Your first strike knocks the leader's spear aside. The second sends him sprawling. You pivot, sweep the second. Man's legs, jab your staff into his gut. The third pauses, eyes wide. He sees something in you, something ancient, something earned. He turns and flees. You don't chase him. Others do. The battle lasts hours, not days, because you've prepared them. When it's over, the villagers gather by the shore, watching the surviving alive. Enemy ships retreat, sails catching the wind like ghosts running from their own reflection. Halfdan limps to your side, bruised but grinning. "We did it," he says. "No," you reply. "You did it. Because you didn't win this battle alone. You built it, trained it, protected it." Historians often fixate on who swung the final blow. But it's the planning, the quiet readiness, the sleepless nights, and patient teaching that hold the real power you were never meant to lead. And yet, here you are. That evening, the village holds a feast not of victory, but of gratitude. Bread is broken, meat is poured. Songs are sung clumsy, loud off-key songs, with verses made up halfway through. Your name gets mentioned more than once. So does your beard. You sit near the fire, watching them, the children who now walk tall, the warriors who once doubted themselves, the blacksmith wiping tears while pretending it's from the smoke. Skull passes you a bowl of stew. "Still turnip," he says solemnly. "Some curses never break." You take a bite anyway. Later, Leaf approaches you with something wrapped in cloth. You unwrap it slowly. It's your old axe, .ref.orged, cleaned, stronger. You grip the handle. It fits your hand like it never left. He shrugs. "Didn't think you'd want it back, but it's part of you." You don't reply. You just nod and lay it across your knees, not as a threat, but as a memory. That night, you dream. You're walking through a forest. Mist coils around your feet. The bear walks beside you, massive, silent eyes like twin moons. But it doesn't. Growl doesn't challenge it. Bows and fades. You wake with a strange peace in your chest. You made your peace with it, all of it. The rage, the war, the ghosts, even the turnips. You rise and go to the cliffside again. The sea stretches out before you, still, dark, beautiful. You don't know if more ships will come, but you're not afraid anymore, because you've finally become what every berserker hopes to be. Deep down, not just a storm, but the stone that stands through it. Quirky last thought. Some Viking warriors believed their spirit animals would return to them in old age, not for battle, but to walk them gently into death. A final companion. You hope the bear returns someday, but not for war, just for the walk. The village breathes easier now. The scars from the attack are already fading, both the visible ones and the kind buried deep behind the eyes. People laugh more freely again. Tools are repaired. New thatch is laid. Even Clunk, against all odds, survives another week without accidentally setting anything on fire. And you still walk the perimeter each morning, still train the young, still nod solemnly when someone tries to hand you a turnip. But there's a softness now in your steps. Not weakness, control. One morning, you spot the girl with the raven feather, Cloak the Jarl's daughter, walking the beach. You join her. She doesn't speak at first, just walks beside you. Finally, she says, "You changed." You nod. "We all did. You still scare children." You grin. "That's just the beard." She pauses. "We'll need a new leader soon. It's a true one. Someone everyone trusts." You feel the weight of her gaze. "I'm not the Jarl you say no," she replies, "but you could be." You don't answer. Instead, you look out at the sea. You think of the old days charging into fire, roaring, letting the rage swallow you whole. And you think of the new day-splitting firewood, teaching children, building something that doesn't burn. Historians still argue whether berserkers ever truly retired. whether the rage ever truly left them, whether peace was even possible. For men who once lived with only the next scream. To guide them, you think, ... yes, but only if they choose it, and you did, later that day. You finally open the chest, tucked in the back of your hut, the one with your old leathers, your old charms. The scraps of your first kills, the tokens of battle survived. You burn most of it, not out of shame. Out of closure, and from the ashes, you carve something new, a small wooden bear. Simple, plain. You set it by the door, facing outward. Not as a warning, as a welcome. That night, they feast again. No battle, no reason. Just life. Torsten plays. A bone flute with more enthusiasm than talent. Skull insists on reciting poetry. The blacksmith dances with the healer, which no one saw coming. You even see the squirrel, again possibly fatter. Definitely plotting something. When the fire burns low and the stars blink wide overhead, a young boy approaches you. The same one who once asked if you were still a berserker. Can I be one? Someday. He whispers. You crouch beside him. No, you say gently. You can be better. And he nods, not because he fully understands, yet, but because he believes you. You sit by the embers long after the others have gone, watching them glow, feeling the warmth. Knowing this is the final stage of your journey, not the scream. Of war, not the clash of iron, but the quiet peace of purpose. Fulfilled, you close your eyes, and for the first time in years, you sleep deeply. DREAMLESS, lie, and the bear does not come. Word count, 1037. Wind down, 300 words, and now, the fire dims. Your footsteps fade down a path only you could walk, one carved, not by blood, but by choice. You began as a storm, roaring, unstoppable. Feared, but storms pass. And afterward, something calmer must remain in the stillness that follows battle. In the quiet cracks between memories, you found something few berserkers ever do. Rest, the village you saved will speak your name, not with fear, but with gratitude, with awe. Maybe even with a song or two, though, probably not very accurate ones. The axe is laid down. The rage is quiet now, and in its place is something heavier. Something rarer, peace, so breathe. Slow and deep. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the earth beneath you steady, unmoving. Like the cliffs that outlast the tide. Whatever waits beyond this night be, it dawn or darkness, you've earned the right to meet it with a clear heart. And if the bear ever returns, it will not roar. It will walk beside you, silent, loyal, just as you walked beside those who needed you most. So sleep now. Warrior, let the wind wrap around you like an old friend's cloak. Let the stars blink above, ancient and constant, and let yourself drift. Into the quiet, into the calm, into home.